I, f22, contacted my dad, m47, and my mom, f44, is pissed. Can I even fix this? So, this is kind of a loaded situation if I'm honest. When I was about 3-4, my mom left my dad, packed us up, and was never seen again by my dad's family. When I was growing up, I was always told he was a crappy person who didn't care about me or her, was an abusive alcoholic, and was overall white trash. I was given 1 or 2 stories about it, but that was it. I was never told anything about the man, and the only information I ever got was a very vague description of what he looked like, but his name was something I had to find in my baby book. It was blocked out, but I was able to find it by using that trick where you put another piece of paper over it and shade it in with a pencil or crayon. When I was younger, I used to ask about him a lot. I would even try to use the internet to find him, all of which my mom knew about. That would always lead to a huge fight between her and I. As I got older, I stopped bringing it up for the most part, until I was 18-19, in which I asked my mom again and was told she didn't remember anything about him really, that it was almost 20 years ago. At this point, I was more focused on the medical aspect of it. I wanted to know if cancer ran in the family, if schizophrenia or dementia did, if I should be tested for Huntington's or anything else. If I ever decided to have kids, I wanted to be sure I would know what I might be putting my children or myself through one day. Because of her answer, I figured I would have to eventually get a DNA test for all of that, and I finally gave up on it. I had always been told he was garbage, so I wasn't missing out on much, right? When I was 21, a couple of months before I turned 22, I randomly thought about it all again. Before I was a kid, or too broke, but now I could use one of those background check websites to see if I could find him. I figured it was worth a shot, and I could use a $1 trial to see if anything popped up. A while ago I had found his name in my baby book, and although I can't remember how, I had an idea of his birthday, of his age. I found him, I found many of his relatives too, and I made contact. At the same time, I had also been contacted on Facebook days before and had not seen it yet. I never use Facebook, only for marketplace at best. One of my cousins contacted me before I even got the trial, so contact was inevitable. I found out I have aunts and uncles and cousins and siblings. I found out that they had all been looking for me for years, hoping they would get to see and meet me again one day. I met a few and talked to a couple of them occasionally. I found out a lot about the past, like how even though my mom said my dad was gone when I was 1.5, this memory I have that she told me was my own imagination was real, of seeing my dad around Christmas when I was around 3-4. I also found out a lot of other stuff, but I won't get into it for privacy reasons. I'll just say that it was information about my mom's family I never expected to hear, and that could be backed up by records I was shown, given, looked up. At the end of the day, they all have their issues, but almost 20 years is a long time. And I don't think it's fair to judge people for what they did before their prefrontal cortex was completely developed. I didn't tell my mom I had spoken to them because knew it would start a big argument and the rest of my family would be dragged into it. I wanted the chance to make my own opinions and to collect my thoughts. It's not every day you discover a whole other side of your family, and even after so much time it's still hard to comprehend. She somehow found out anyways. She is now blowing up my phone demanding we speak, saying how they treated her so terribly, but she never told me anything. I was never told the stories, let alone that my dad even had siblings. She even used to speak to one of them even after she left him. I'm not saying she can't possibly be telling the truth, but it's well known that she exaggerates and even straight up lies. Even my family on her side, when I have asked about this situation, say they really aren't sure what happened because they also know how she can be. This has been a major issue when it comes to dealing with her for years. Lies to get money, used me as a bargaining chip growing up, opening credit cards in my name when I was 18, etc. At this point, I just don't know what to do going forward. My mom is insistent we talk, that she's so disappointed I would talk to those people, and how she disappointed that, this is how I found out, via Facebook stalking me. Is there any way for me to even play damage control and avoid collateral here? Do I just go all scorched earth? I just don't know how to go about the situation as a whole, and I have never been more stressed in my life. I don't think I did anything wrong, however I feel sick to my stomach at the same time. Too long did not read. I got into contact with my paternal family, found out a lot of family history, secrets, and my mom is losing it on me. I have no idea what to do now. Your mother is freaking out because the parental alienation isn't working anymore and you're now seeking answers on your own, not through her. There's nothing wrong with you doing that. The truth should never fear investigation. Congratulations. You are now an adult and your mother will rage against you for realizing that. But really she has no say in the matter. My guess is you'll learn a few things, mostly that the truth lies somewhere in the middle. As for your mom, all of us at some point need to see our parents as the flawed humans they are. And that often, they're just plain wrong. Being family does not come with the right to be included. No auto-forgive clause, no endless chances clause. Your mother has lied to you for 20+ years. She has lost the right to complain to you about your paternal side of your family. They are your family whether or not she likes it. You are legally an adult and do not have to bend to her wishes anymore. You do not owe your mother for raising you, she was the one to decide to give birth to you. Your mother has not only lied to you, but opened credit cards in your name without telling you? It sounds like she is just a dishonest person. Maybe your dad is awful. But if her say-so is all you have to go on, you can't possibly know that. Maybe she has been lying to you about that too. I say you make your own investigations, and if she is trying to keep you ignorant then you just don't trust anything she says. Maybe your mom is a liar and exaggerates, maybe not. You say you found secrets but don't disclose them, so I really have no idea what to say because you're keeping it vague. Is it possible your father was abusive and she hid from him to protect you? But keep in mind, who raised you? Who was there for you all these years? If she was in contact with his siblings then he could have contacted you. He could have provided child support and didn't time with you. For some reason he chose not to. Why not? His siblings could have stayed in touch, but they didn't. Why not? Her family knew a lot that they weren't telling you, apparently. Why not? You're 22 and an adult and perfectly able to make your own decisions. You were kept away from half of your relatives. Go meet them and get to know them. This is a problem for your mom to get over. Sounds like everything she said, did was more sus than anything else. Personally, I would tell her to pound rocks. Emotionally cheated on during pregnancy. Should I stay? 40F and 40F. 40F and 40M couple. We have been together for almost 3 years and have lived together for over 1. I am currently in my second trimester. About 6 months into our relationship I found out he had been cheating with multiple women. We went to couples therapy and he swore he wouldn't do it again. I took him back. The physical cheating stopped but the emotional cheating didn't. I kept saying I would leave if he did it again, but I never had the self-esteem to. I wanted the relationship so bad. Now I am pregnant and I found out today by confronting him that he is speaking to one of the women, who just broke up with her fiancé, again. She said that she thinks about him and he reciprocated with the same. Now I'm trapped. I moved to his city, rented out my house, and have stopped telling my close friends about what he does because it is significant other embarrassing that I am still here. Now there is a child coming and I can't do it to myself anymore. I am scared I don't have the strength to leave, but I don't want this anymore. I feel pathetic and am scared to do pregnancy and infant raising alone. Should I let him go to therapy and save this or should I leave for good? Leave. You aren't trapped and you shouldn't be raising a child to believe that toxic relationships are normal. Let him go. It'll be less stress on you, especially during this pregnancy and postpartum. We all wish for our cheating partners to stop, but take it from someone who learned that her husband was cheating while in labor, and stayed for 5 years. It wasn't worth it to constantly argue with him, to constantly be worried about his phone, where he was at, to worry my kids, to almost lose our home, to lose my sanity, to have constant anxiety and anger. It wasn't worth it when my little one at her tender age of 4 to say, "Mommy, don't cry, it'll be okay." He's shown you who he is, believe him. It's not worth staying for. He has no intentions of changing his ways and does not respect your boundaries. I would leave now prior to having the baby if you plan to move back to another state, city you came from, otherwise it will be harder to leave once the baby is born. Leave for good. Please, please, leave for good. You will be a much better mother without him. A weight will be lifted off your shoulders. If you can't muster the strength to do it for yourself, leave for your child. Don't raise a kid in a home where they see this as a normal relationship. You should not stay with this dude. He's awful, op. Maybe he will be a great co-parent, but he's definitely a shit partner. You don't deserve to be sentenced to a life with a cheater just because you got pregnant. You and your baby deserve a lot more. And you can find someone who treats you right. Start telling your family and friends what's happening and lean on your support system. You're not alone. He's not your only option. Let them be there for you. Good luck. Less than 3. Help communicating my 30M concerns about my wife 30F hanging out with another dad? How can I 30M better communicate my feelings about this situation without making my wife 30F of 4 years feel uncomfortable or shamed? I, 30M. Don't think it was weird that my wife, 30F, went to the zoo with another dad and his daughter, especially since it was our son who insisted. But I felt upset when I found out because I've been asking for us to spend more quality time together for months, and it hasn't happened. I've shared with her that I've been feeling lonely. Our bedtime talks have stopped because she's often busy with homework or something else. So, when I discovered that she spent the day with another guy at the zoo while I was at work, it bothered me. When I expressed this, she told me I was making her feel uncomfortable and insisted that it wasn't that kind of outing. But that wasn't the point I was trying to make. I told her, I just don't like the idea of you hanging out with another guy when I've been asking us to have quality time for months now. She also mentioned that she's been feeling lonely too, but instead of spending time with other moms, the one time she decides to hang out with someone, it's with one of the few stay-at-home dads. I'd appreciate some advice on how to navigate this conversation better. Instead of receiving validation for my feelings, I felt shamed, and she listed all the things she does for me, which I'm grateful for, but it didn't address my concerns. How do I express these feelings in a way that's constructive and helps us both feel heard? You guys have to carve out a day or half day to spend time together as a family. The zoo, a park, shopping, anything together and not separate. You guys sound more like roommates than married based on the routine. Break the routine in some way to spend time focusing on each other too. You are turning this into something it isn't. She was there because your son isn't old enough to go hang out with other kids by himself. And his friend's dad was there because that was the adult available to take his friend on a playdate. It's weird and disrespectful to make it out to be anything other than two parents taking their kids out on a playdate. Plan a date or a trip with your wife. Get it on a calendar. Don't wait around for her to plan something for you. Be more understanding about her busy schedule, 'cause if she only has time to study when she is meant to be going to bed, her plate is probably pretty packed. You mentioned she has listed all the things she does for you, and to you they are not enough, but what have you done to spend more quality time? Why are her efforts not enough for you? Have you voiced your expectations or your expectation way too high? Have you also made any efforts for your wife, or just because you work, you expect her to do everything? She already said to you she is lonely, so what have you done about it? It's not just how you communicate with her about your feelings but also how you listen when you go into deep conversation with your wife on this. Tell her you are concerned that your busy lives will cause you to drift apart and you love her too much to just wait for that to happen or find out one day that she has moved on from you. So you'd like very much if she would agree to carve out some of her weekend time to go on a date with you. Nothing too exhausting. You understand there's not a lot of extra energy to spare, but some genuine exclusive time to reconnect. Why can't she study when kid is in school? You expressed yourself pretty perfectly here. Can you write her a letter? I know that's a bit much, but I don't have any great advice. I wouldn't be okay with my partner doing that. And my husband would absolutely flip if I did this. Why didn't you know about it ahead of time? I'm assuming the other dad's children were also at the zoo? Which makes it a little better, but she should absolutely see your concerns as valid.